We're back with our politics lead and continuing the conversation with my panel on the Russia investigation, the continuing threat from Russia, and of course Jared Kushner's security clearance being significantly downgraded as part of potentially, perhaps, the Russia investigation. I want to start with an exchange between Admiral Rogers, the head of the NSA, and Senator Blumenthal today. Rogers was asked by the senator why he hadn't asked President Trump for additional authority to confront Russia's cyber threats.
Sir, I am not going to tell the president what he should or should not do.
Without belaboring this point, would you agree with me that the Russians have been in no way deterred from this?
Oh, yes, sir. I think that's true.
They're doing it with impunity. They could care less what we think. They're continuing to attack us.
Yes, sir.
I do find it surprising. You normally don't have, especially in the Trump administration, where loyalty, even if the facts don't line up with what is required of you with loyalty. Loyalty is so rewarded. And here you have Admiral Rogers making it very clear, I'm not saying inappropriately so, that the president has not given him the authority to do what he needs to do. Phil?
The story is bigger than that, Jake. In a real world, here's how this game works. You're the director of the National Security Agency. You're the director of the CIA. You're the Secretary of State. You walk in the Situation Room. That's in the West Wing with the president, the vice president, the National Security Advisor. National Security Agency says, we're going to take down some systems in Moscow. The CIA says, this is how we're going to cooperate, and you turn to the Secretary of State and you say, you're going to take some heat from the Russians because we're going to engage in a covert action. The White House has to authorize that. What I'm hearing today is there any conversation at the White House integrated across the government, because this is complicated, about what we do? And the answer is no.
And interestingly, Nia, 60% of respondents in our new CNN poll are not confident that President Trump is doing enough to prevent foreign influence in future elections, although 60% also say Congress isn't doing enough either.
Yeah, and a lot of governors are probably part of that 60%. They, of course, were at the White House talking about this in some ways, the fact that they feel like their voting systems are quite vulnerable. You had Congress try to move and get them some money, big bill, $150 million to help them secure their data systems, their voting systems. That hasn't happened. So there is a lot of frustration. One of the questions is it too late at this point, right? I mean, it's clear that the Russians never really left, that they're still meddling. The primary season starts next month. Can they do enough to start to ensure some of these voting systems all across the country that are electronic, that are very vulnerable, that are outdated? So far, you have had some meetings. The DHS has met with some governors and local officials, as well as some intelligence agencies. But my goodness, I mean, the question is, I think, is it too late, and can something be done before voting starts in November and even in March?
And Caitlin, I know you hear a lot from when you're at the White House reporting from Sarah Sanders and others who work for the president that the American people don't care about Russia. Our CNN poll found that 61% of those polled say the Russia investigation is a serious matter. 34% view it as an effort to discredit President Trump. That's a clear majority who disagree with the White House.
That's right. I think every American cares about the integrity of our elections, and the White House continues to blame this on the Obama administration. We saw it just again today when the press secretary was being pushed on why hasn't the president made it clear to Mike Rogers that he should disrupt those efforts where they originate. And they continue to go back to, hey, this happened during the Obama administration. We weren't in office. But the point is, Donald Trump is in office now. He has been for 13 months, and the White House is still yet to outline any kind of a plan or even hint that they're working on something that would stop this from happening again. And the White House did say today that they would be offering some steps later on that we would find out in the near future, but that's also something that we've heard for weeks now. We still have yet to see anything that the White House is doing to make sure this doesn't happen again.
So from Russia cyber attacks to the Russia investigation, Phil, let's go back to the issue of Kushner's security clearance being significantly downgraded. The FBI saying that they hope to wrap up his security clearance in a month or so. What does that mean? What does that tell you?
That tells me that Kushner's in trouble. I'm going to assume that in the space of 30 days, the FBI is not going to do a U-turn and come back to the White House and say, well, we finished this and we found out he's clean. I think Kelly's going to be put in a difficult position to say, we're never going to close out the investigation to the point where Jared Kushner could get a top-secret clearance. Is it okay, whether it's Kushner or anybody else in the White House, is it okay to keep somebody around when the FBI has enough concerns about your background, maybe financial irregularities, we don't know, to say we can't certify you for a top-secret clearance? I think the question is going to be, do we downgrade him entirely and say he can't have a clearance?
And let me read a statement from his attorney, Abby Lowell, Jared Kushner's attorney, quote, as to his security clearance, Mr. Kushner has done more than what is expected of him in this process. As General Kelly himself said, the new clearance policy will not affect Mr. Kushner's ability to continue to do the very important work he has been assigned by the president. Caitlin, that's impossible to believe. I mean, the guy works in Mideast peace. He reads the presidential daily brief. We're told all of a sudden he can't have access to all the information he needs.
Yeah, it's pretty much only people inside the White House who see it that way, that this isn't going to affect his day-to-day life. And obviously, Jared Kushner doesn't see it this way either. That's why he's been so frustrated with John Kelly and feels like this is a direct attack on him specifically, which it kind of is. We did know that people were worried inside the West Wing to raise questions about the questions surrounding his security, Rob Porter's security clearance, because they thought it would bring up the scrutiny that has been on Jared Kushner's security clearance in the past. But what is going to be interesting to watch here is the dynamic of the West Wing, not just how this is affecting Jared Kushner's day-to-day, but essentially this was a showdown between Jared Kushner and John Kelly. The president technically gave the authority to John Kelly in front of everyone at that press conference, and he did not give Jared Kushner a waiver. This isn't something Jared Kushner has really seen before when he's gone up against people, whether it was on the campaign trail or Reince Priebus, people